Hello. Well, you probably realised I haven't done a huge amount of camera recently. The last few months have been, I'll be honest, quite busy. But there's been some other things going on a little bit deeper down as well. And I thought I'd get it off my chest and sort of share it with you. So I've come to Ashen Plains for the group's annual pre-Christmas camp. And the reason that I suppose my heart hasn't really been in making videos probably the last 6 months, if I'm honest. And the good news is that I'm just starting to get that mojo back now. I've got a trip planned next month, in fact. But the reason I haven't really been making videos, doing things, etc. The last 10 years of my life has been dedicated pretty much to funeral work. And I know I've said about this before on YouTube, wanting to sort of, bring that to an end and had enough and what have you. But the honest truth is it's affected me emotionally on a very, very deep level. It was about 3 years ago that I think I first realised the end is coming. And I decided I would take a few months off. And I went to Scotland with Noah. We had an absolutely fantastic time. So it would have been the December when I made the decision that was it. I was going to lay off it for a bit. And I remember going to Scotland in the February. And I had a phone call from a funeral director that I knew and had done work for. And they said, would I do a couple of funerals? And I said, well, yeah, okay, fair enough, I will. And I wasn't 100% certain that I'd made the right decision. And it was at that point that I went from doing funerals in Gloucester, Cheltenham, Oxford, Bristol, Redditch, Bromsgrove, and I cut the northern ones out and I just said, right, I'm going to do the Oxford crems and Cheltenham and Gloucester. And time sort of progressed and I thought, no, I was right, I should have had this break. And so I drew the line on everything but Cheltenham. And I wanted to keep going. There was a personal relationship with a particular firm which meant a great deal to me. And it was right to keep doing bits and pieces of work for them. And a lot of people were asking for me personally by name. And that's quite an honour. You want to help people at that point. But I had realised as more and more time went on that I'd given so much of myself already doing these funerals. I'd run out of energy, of momentum. So I then said, right, just Cheltenham it is, but I want to have a break. And I took a break for a couple of months, and then I was asked would I go back and do some, and I started again. And this brings us up to probably June, July this year. And there came a point, and I said, no, that's definitely it this time. And it's backwards, forwards, constantly for the last few years. And I've tried to draw the line and say it's affecting me, mentally, emotionally. I can't do this. There's other things I want and need to be doing, but emotionally I've nothing left to give. And I said I would take the month of August off. And I was going to. And then one Saturday morning, late in July 24, Helen and I had a phone call on a Saturday morning. And one of our friends had died in his 50s. Far too early. far too young. And I realised this was coming to the end. I knew I would have to go up to Grimsby to do his service. I offered, I wanted to. It was the right thing to do. If I hadn't have done it, I not only never would have forgiven myself, but it was the right thing to do, because he was not only a friend, somebody that meant a great deal to me, but he was also one of the supporters of my channel, probably one of the most enthusiastic supporters. He watched all of it, even the really rubbish stuff. And yeah, it was hard standing there in front of 500 people, 600 people, however many were there. And it was hard saying that goodbye. But after it was done, emotionally, I felt that was it. And I'd made 2 commitments that were still to come. I'd agreed to do a funeral, and I'd agreed to inter the ashes of another friend who had died in his 50s. And I knew that was it. I did have an email asking me if I'd do one more, and I said yes. And 24 hours later, I realised that was it. No. That was it. That's me done. Now, I've been thinking about that and reflecting on that for the last couple of months, and just sort of getting myself back into my swing, so to speak. And I must confess, I've invested rather heavily in some extra camera equipment. I'm sort of pain of being clipped round the ear. I've got to get out and use it. And then last night, I had a message that came through, and I found out that somebody else that I've been close to passed away 2 weeks ago. I hadn't realised. Unfortunately, I've not really spoken to him for probably about 6 months. We sort of lost touch, unfortunately, as people do. But this again was somebody that featured in my story, my history, my journey. And it just sort of made me think. I went to bed quite early last night, and I woke up this morning, and it has strengthened my resolve once again for the whole Carpe Diem thing. It's difficult to know exactly how to express feelings towards life and death when you've done so much of it. Not that you've become institutionalised by it, but you've certainly been desensitised to it in a way that you almost don't think about your own mortality. You spend a huge amount of time thinking about other people's and helping other people at this difficult time of their lives, but you don't think about yourself and your own. And that's what I need to do.